Every civilization that has ever existed believed its language was unique, special, chosen, a gift from its gods to its people alone. Well, not quite. Beneath almost every language you have ever heard, beneath the Sanskrit of the Rigveda and the Latin of Rome, beneath the Greek of Homer and the Persian of Cyrus, beneath the English you are listening to right now, there is one older sound, one original grammar, one ancestral tongue spoken by a people whose name is lost, in a place still being argued over, at a time before writing existed to record them. They left no monuments, no inscriptions, no graves we can identify with certainty. They left only their words, mutated, branched, scattered across 6 continents and 8,000 years of human history. And those words are so persistent, so structurally identical across languages that had no contact with each other, that they constitute something remarkable, an accidental proof that humanity, at its deepest linguistic layer, is one family. This series is called Roots, not because Sanskrit is the root of all language. It isn't, and we will never claim more than the evidence supports, but because every language in the Indo-European family, and there are over 400 of them, spoken by nearly half the human species, has roots, traceable roots. We will follow those roots into the ancient world and back into the present, into genetics labs and into Vedic manuscripts, into border disputes and into the words you use every morning without knowing their age. The past is not behind us. In language, it never left. Episode 1. The word you use for your mother is 8,000 years old. Not approximately, not poetically. The Sanskrit is mata, the Latin is mater, the English is mother, the Old Persian is mata, the Greek is meter. These aren't borrowings from one another. Sanskrit and Gothic never met. Sanskrit and Old Irish certainly didn't. These are 5 daughters of the same mother tongue, inheriting the same word through entirely separate paths of change across 8,000 years of human history. And it isn't just mother. The word fire, Sanskrit, Agni, Latin, ignis, which is why the Vedic god Agni and the English word ignite share the same root, not by contact, but by descent. The word night, Sanskrit, Nakta, Latin, nox, Greek, nix, English, night, Old Irish, nocht. The darkness has carried the same name in recognizable form across every civilization that inherited this language. The word new, Sanskrit, nava, Latin, novus, English, new, novel, nova, innovate, renovate. Innovation itself is 8,000 years old in its root. In 2023, the Max Planck Institute for Evolutionary Anthropology ran a Bayesian analysis of 161 Indo-European languages. Their finding: this entire language family began diverging approximately 8,100 years ago, 6,000 years before the Common Era, before writing, before bronze, before almost every monument that has survived from the ancient world. One speech community. Sometime around 6,000 BCE, somewhere on this earth, the exact location is still being argued over, and that argument is one of the most intellectually charged debates in Indian history today. Their words survived every empire that rose after them, every migration, every conquest, every language death. 400 daughter languages, 3.5 billion living speakers. Nearly half of every conversation happening on Earth right now is at its deepest structural root a conversation in a dialect of the same ancestral tongue. This map shows how these languages are spread across these 6 continents. But here is what that map doesn't show you. It doesn't show you how one language, spoken by one community, somewhere on this earth, 6,000 years before the Common Era, ended up in the mouths of half the human species. It doesn't show you the mechanism, the movement, the people, because that question, where did the speakers of this mother tongue actually live, is not settled. It is, right now, the most fiercely contested debate in Indian historiography. On one side, genetic evidence from Harvard pointing to a migration into the subcontinent. On the other, textual evidence from within the Rigveda itself that reads like a people describing a homeland, not a destination. And at the center of the entire argument, silent and unreadable, sit more than 4,000 symbols carved into seals, pressed into clay, found across a civilization larger than Egypt and Mesopotamia combined. The Indus Valley script, undeciphered, after a century of trying. If those symbols encode an Indo-European language, Sanskrit's ancestor was already here, long before any migration. If they encode something else entirely, the story changes direction completely. This and a lot more will be covered in part 2 of this series, Roots.